afternoon. And welcome. I am the Reverend Dr. Molly Maisie O'Neill Loudon, Celt through and through, but didn't really get the importance of it until 2 years ago. And I'm the facilitator of this Celtic worship team, which is a lay-led team. We're delighted that you're here. It is your presence that invites the divine presence. And our theme today, very timely, creation. Because on a day like this, we're aware of the beauty and the new life. And it does lift our spirits. It does have an impact on us, or at least it does on me. There's a great Celtic theologian whose picture is on our Celtic saints table, John Scotus Erigena. It's very fancy for John the Irishman. But he said, we have two scriptures. We have the Bible, and we have creation. That God reveals God's self in creation. And that means the whole enchilada, the cosmos. And who knows what astrophysics will call it next. But all of it. It's growing, it's expanding. The church has taught that humans have power over the rest of creation. And one of the reasons, the big reasons, that we are drawn to Celtic theologians is because we need to save our planet. And their perspective is we have to reverence God's creation. Because God reveals God's self in the creation. So I hope the silence and our words and the music will help you become more aware and more connected to what God is doing in creation and in your life. Now we have several stations. Sarah Kiefer and I will be at the baptismal font to pray with anyone who has a request. We'll pray in silence. We'll pray for someone you want to pray for. We'll pray with you. And we do this knowing that one thing Jesus said is, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I will be amongst you. That's what we're counting on. There's also a written prayer request station and a candle lighting station. And of course, our Celtic saints, where you can see a picture of John Scotus Erigena. And we also want to welcome you to 2 opportunities to really grow this community. One is, please join us for the reception in the hall, but I'm going to invite us today because it is such a beautiful day and because we are reverencing creation, to go out the side door, and before you get in your car, take a moment to walk into the cloister, get your feet on the ground, and take a deep breath. And be aware that all of this is for you. God's not in here. God's everywhere, and we need to begin to notice. And also, we'll have a discussion in the reception room, which is an opportunity for us to hear from you. Because Pelagius told us, one of our other great saints, the church must never tell people who God is. People already know. Well, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear what you already know. And today, especially, what you know about the way you are blessed in your connection to creation. And finally, Holy Family Monastery has invited, and the Copper Beech Institute, Carl McColman. There's a note at the end of the bulletin. He's doing a retreat on Celtic spirituality, holy wells and thin places. And we would love to have you join us there. So let yourself be fully welcome. We're grateful that you chose to be with us.
Eagle Poem by Joy Harjo. To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know except in moments, steadily growing, and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty.
Ready. I thought it was lovely that the words to this song that many of you have heard were written in 1931 in Britain, a time that was full of terror and strife and depression, and yet this is when it was written. 1931. So maybe there's two of you who don't know this song. We'll play the melody first and then we'll sing it.
majestic is your name throughout the earth. You made your glory higher than heaven. From the mouths of nursing babies, you have laid a strong foundation because of your foes, in order to stop vengeful enemies. When I look up at your skies, at what your fingers made, the moon and the stars that you set firmly in place, what are human beings that you think about them? What are human beings that you pay attention to them? You've made them only slightly less than divine, crowning them with glory and grandeur. You've let them rule over your handiwork, putting everything under their feet, all sheep and all cattle, the wild animals too, the birds in the sky, the fish of the ocean, everything that travels the pathways of the sea. Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name throughout the earth. Creation. My friends on the Celtic Guild asked if I would do the reflection for this evening's service. I resisted, saying that creation wasn't a topic that resonated with me. If I'm being honest, the truth is that I am somewhat intimidated by it, by the breadth and scope of the possible paths of discussion. I do think that an interesting thing about creation is that of all that is known to us, the Creator gave only humans the capacity to attach meaning. And so from time immemorial, humans have tried to do just that. They have sought to attach understanding and meaning to the purpose of creation, to the reason for life. People inspired and guided by their depiction of the Creator, by their view of an almighty presence, have sought to put in words and traditions an explanation of life, the reason for creation, and the role of humans in that creation. We all know how the Hebrew Bible starts, with the Genesis creation story laying out for the Judeo-Christian world what it asserts as the literal events of creation. Native American lore is laden with creation stories and interpretations. We all learned about the ancient gods and goddesses of Egypt and Greece in high school and college. Pre-Christian communities in other places, such as where the Celtic people lived, told folk stories and formulated legends and earthbound beliefs as to how things came to be and how things were maintained. In science, we have disputes between creationists and evolutionists. Was there a Big Bang? And if there was a Big Bang, was that a natural, spontaneous event? Or was it an intentional, guided act? We have scientists mining the depths of the universe beyond what we can see, seeking a richer understanding of what is, though perhaps not why it is. In the past 60 years, we have had space travel pushing against what for thousands of years seemed to be our earthbound destiny in order to discover and uncover secrets beyond. With all these theories and approaches, I struggle to formulate any sort of meaningful discussion of creation for tonight. I wasn't sure how to make sense out of the topic. To tell the truth, it is kind of an amorphous subject to me, and I certainly don't fancy myself as much of a real philosopher or theologian. What more could I say? This week, my hair had gotten really long, and I desperately needed to get it cut. For years, I've been going to an old-fashioned, high-service barber shop in downtown Hartford. However, lately, I've had a hard time getting a convenient appointment that didn't get subsequently canceled. With an upcoming busy schedule next week, I decided I needed to try another place. I read online of a one-man shop here in West Hartford where reviews noted that it was easy to get time in the chair and that the barber did a good job. The only different kind of thing pointed out in those same reviews was that he tended to be something of a goofy philosopher. Sure enough, when I arrived early one morning this past week, I found that I was his first customer. I still can't exactly explain how we got into this, other than it was a new fact that he wanted to share with the first person he met that day. But soon after my arrival, he had whipped out his iPhone, pushed the home button, and asked, "Siri, how fast is the Milky Way galaxy traveling through the universe?" Well, of course, Siri came back with instantaneous web-based research of physicists who has established through scientific measurement that the galaxy is moving along at a clip of 1.3 million miles per hour. Think about that for a moment. 1.3 million miles per hour. For every hour ever. That's one heck of a lot of space to cover through a big place, our universe, our creation. That fact, the infinite size of creation, really outlines the fundamental problem for me. I feel that talking about creation can be as big as, well, creation. After pondering this barbershop education and just how I came about hearing about it for most of that day, I ultimately realized that this was the Spirit, our Creator, who had set me up for a sort of teasing about being so hung up on this whole thing. So in the end, I followed a course of action that I've used before to provide scaffolding and direction in my thinking. I sought out dictionary definitions of creation. The definition of the word creation is broad, owing perhaps to the sizable subject matter. The word can be an adjective, as in creation science. It can be a counted noun, for example, the creations of an artist. Or it is a mass noun, also called an uncounted noun. Most of the dictionaries go on to give a specific definition of the mass noun use, or even a separate sub-entry. The creation, the original bringing into existence of the universe by God. Given the spirituality context, I was particularly drawn to this creation definition. That is the creating of the universe by the Creator. As I pondered it, directional ideas started to gel for me, particularly as I tried to relate those ideas to my embrace of Celtic spirituality. When I was first drawn to Celtic spirituality, I realized I related in some sort of unidentifiable way to the earthy aspects of it, and to the idea that there are four basic elements to all things: air, fire, water, earth. And by that I mean earth in the form of actual dirt. When we began offering these Celtic services in the fall of 2017, I set up a kind of mini altar to those four elements over on the table where we have the Celtic saints and some other related exhibits. Early last year, I drifted away from these Sunday gatherings for a time, as I described in my reflection during our belonging service last October. So the little exhibit stopped being part of the service. It didn't return after I subsequently came back to the group. But in celebration of our theme tonight, it is back again tonight. Very simple, yet with its own place of honor. An important tenet of Celtic theology is that God is present in all matter without exception. God is present in everything and in everywhere. Yes, Molly, in here as well as out there. During the past few weeks, as I thought about my upcoming reflection here tonight, the four elements concept began to take on a new, exciting, and meaningful perspective for me. I became intentionally mindful of the idea that God is indeed within everything, and that everything is ultimately of the four primary elements created by God. In particular, I mindfully applied this approach to what I observed outside my car as I made my daily drive to and from my office, a drive of about 25 minutes each way through the back roads of Bloomfield and Windsor. The beauty and wonder of God's creation is so very obvious in many things. The nascent springtime, the sunshine and skies, the birds and wildlife I encountered, the hills and fields my car passed below, over, and through. I thought with amazement of the wonder of photosynthesis, of the harmony of plants exhaling oxygen for the benefit of mammals, and of those mammals expelling the carbon dioxide needed by plants. But I became increasingly and deeply aware of something else. The beauty of creation is present in what we might otherwise consider the not so beautiful. The aluminum roof of a warehouse, magnificently reflecting sparkling light. The ventilation fans protruding from another factory building, casting textured shadows of dynamic shapes against the building's walls. The intricate flow patterns carved into the mud of a construction site after a heavy rain. Disparate components mysteriously bonding together to form the very pavement upon which I was driving began to seem comparable to the magic of the union of sperm and egg in conception and reproduction. Reflect on that one next time you're standing still in a traffic jam on I-84. My wife and I purchased a new home last year, and we recently met with someone to help us create a grassy lawn out of the dusty, thatch-choked, and weedy front yard that is there right now. After we had complained about all the dandelions, and there are lots and lots of dandelions, I thought back to when our two now-grown girls were toddlers, presenting us with bountiful bouquets of those same small yellow flowers that they picked for us as a sign of their love. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that we should think broadly about our definition of creation and how we interact with it, not just when we are in a place of beauty, but in the mundane and routine of our lives. That is a very Celtic practice. God as present in everything and in everywhere. The traditional Celtic way of life included prayers to and about people, creatures, and activities encountered throughout the day, and worship of the Creator ongoing in daily life. In Googling for ideas combining Celtic spirituality and creation, I came across a quote by the Russian author Fyodor Dostoevsky. Now, I wouldn't necessarily put Dostoevsky in the Celtic saint category with the others we have set up on the table over there. Nonetheless, what he wrote in his novel, The Brothers Karamazov, certainly is worthy of consideration for entry into the Celtic Hall of Fame. Dostoevsky said, "Love all God's creation, both the whole and every grain of sand. Love every leaf, every ray of light. Love the animals, love the plants, love each separate thing. If thou love each thing, thou wilt perceive the mystery of God in all. And when once thou perceive this, thou wilt thenceforward grow every day to a fuller understanding of it, until thou come at last to love the whole world with a love that will then be all-embracing and universal." Celtic theology tells us that God and that love Dostoevsky spoke of is already present in us. It is always in us. As well, all things in creation as we experience it every day ultimately sprang from those four elements, created for us by God and also containing God. God's creation is a visible reminder to us every single day of that presence and that love. Back to my dictionary definitions for another thought. The description of creation as the act of creating something has ongoing relevance to us as caretakers of at least our part of creation, and as we synthesize those four elements into items of useful utility to our ongoing lives. The psalm I read a few moments ago is known as one of the creation psalms. It is that author's celebration of God as the creator, but it also offers a specific perspective of creation and a point of view of human relationships with God. The psalmist proclaims to God, the creator, for all to hear. What are human beings that you think about them? What are human beings that you pay attention to them? You've made them only slightly less than divine, crowning them with glory and grandeur. Despite the vastness of creation and the insignificance of humans, the Creator has deeded a significant role, one of responsibility, to humans. The psalmist continues, "You've let them rule over your handiwork, putting everything under their feet." Human responsibility for creation is key, as God is sharing power over that creation with the human creature. First, through the psalmist, we recognize the gift of creation, one that is vast and venerable. But we additionally learn that we, in fact, have authority to actively make a difference in creation, to make a difference in the situations in which we find ourselves. God, through infinite love, in fact, has made us co-creators of creation. Someone who definitely can be termed a Celtic saint. We have a picture, this one I know for a fact, we have a picture of him over there, is the renowned naturalist and environmentalist John Muir. Muir, who was a Scotsman by birth, took a similar view about creation, once saying, "People talk about creation as a remote fact of history, as if it were something that was attended to a long time ago and finished at the time. But creation was not an act, it is a process, and it is going on today as much as it ever was." Creation has always been, creation continues now, and creation will always be. But to know that we have such importance does not mean we can be of domination. Our proper dominion, care, is not exploitative of creation, nor over one another. When we turn to prejudice, discrimination, hatred, greed, war, and self-serving actions, we are turning away from the essential truth that God is part of us, part of our very being from creation, from our creation. Likewise, when we turn to wanton destruction, to pollution of the basic elements of land, seas, and skies, to disregarding the impact of climate change, we also turn against the Creator's love as manifested through the loving gift of creation. God's creation always wins. It has for millions and millions of years. What we create is but temporary. Buildings fall into disrepair, plant life seizes control of them, and eventually they collapse. Wood deteriorates to soil, metal rusts and eventually turns to powder. Even plastic breaks down. It takes hundreds of years, but it too breaks down. The rains eventually will dilute and wash away the toxins we produce. But even though creation always wins, it does so in an altered way. As co-creators, we change it, often to the contrary of the intent of the original creator. Alteration of the landscape brings flooding. Toxic chemicals bring chronic disease and even death. Global warming melts the ice caps, alters weather patterns, and ultimately may create inhospitable conditions for the continuance of human life. Creation will continue, but we will have destroyed things created for us through the Creator's all-embracing and universal love. So to my mind, our role is to be responsible caretakers, stewards, and co-creators, to manifest the simple and essential truth of the Creator shown through creation and its gift to us, love. Whatever our skills, musician, poet, artist, writer, business person, farmer, cook, parent servant, public servant, whether we are a mother, father, sister, brother, daughter, son, or grandparents. Whatever our skills and whatever our roles, we are here to improve upon creation. All of us manifesting the Creator's love in what we do and how we handle ourselves every day of our lives. Creator Spirit, as the earth, so beautiful, so warm, receives and reflects the sunlight, so may we receive and reflect your love. Amen.
Well, when thinking about our chanting today, I realized the season is Lent. And one of my very favorite parts of the Lenten liturgy is the Easter Vigil. And of those, the part that keeps coming back to me is the Litany of the Saints. And sometimes when I'm walking out in the woods and all the negative thoughts are coming at my mind and repeating over and over, I'll start chanting the Litany of the Saints, and I'll think of all the saints that I know, and then my parents, and then all the other people that have influenced me, and then I'll think of the living saints that are around me, my friends, people that I work with, the people that I live with. So you don't need any papers with you because it's fairly simple. You're just going to repeat after me. So would you come up and stand around? We start with the invocation Kyrie, which is Greek, meaning the Master, the Creator, the all. And eleison is have mercy, grant mercy. And then we shift in Christe eleison, Christ have mercy. And then we shift right away to the feminine. Mary, the Mother of God, and in Latin we'll say Dei Genitrix, the generator of God, and Regina Caeli, the Queen of the Heaven. So I chose to keep this in the Latin form, so it's hypnotic, and plus ora pro nobis sits better in the pace of things. So when we get to the saints, and that's why I asked you to put a name down, if you will. The response is, ora pro nobis. Can you sing that? Ora pro nobis. Yes, okay. So then now, from the rest you just repeat after me. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Christe eleison, Christe eleison, Christe eleison, Christe eleison, Christe eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. Santa Maria, ora pro nobis. Sing it. Ora pro nobis. That's your response. Santa Maria, ora pro nobis. Santa Dei Genitrix, ora pro nobis. Santa Regina Caeli, ora pro nobis. Santa Mater Dolorosa, ora pro nobis. Sancte Joseph, ora pro nobis. Sancta Johannes, ora pro nobis. Sancte Jacobi, ora pro nobis. Sancta Susan, ora pro nobis. Santa Mali, ora pro nobis. Santa Sarah, ora pro nobis. Sancte Thomas, ora pro nobis. Sancte Jared, ora pro nobis. Sancte Bruce, ora pro nobis. Sancte Pelagius, ora pro nobis. Santa Bridget, ora pro nobis. Santa Agnes, ora pro nobis. Santa Rita, ora pro nobis. Sancte Nobertus, ora pro nobis. Sancte Scotus, ora pro nobis. Santa Carrie, ora pro nobis. Santa Shaman, ora pro nobis. Sancte David, ora pro nobis. Santa Tanya, ora pro nobis. Santa Holy, ora pro nobis. Santa Anna, ora pro nobis. Santa Sherry, ora pro nobis. Santa Florencia, ora pro nobis. Santa Eleanor, ora pro nobis. Santa Rebecca, ora pro nobis. Santa Debbie, ora pro nobis. Santa Jeffrey, ora pro nobis. Santa Judy, ora pro nobis. Santa Johanna, ora pro nobis. Santa Barbara, ora pro nobis. Santa Bernie, ora pro nobis. Santa Barrett, ora pro nobis. Santa Sandy, ora pro nobis. Santa Tracy, ora pro nobis. Santa Billy, ora pro nobis. Santa Luisa, ora pro nobis. Santa Lisa, ora pro nobis. Santa Patrice, ora pro nobis. Santa Linda, ora pro nobis. Santa Carmen, ora pro nobis. Santa Dione, ora pro nobis. Santa Jane, ora pro nobis. Santa Helena, ora pro nobis. Santa Marcia, ora pro nobis. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Christe eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison.
Please stand and join with me in the intercessory prayers. I am John Nowacki. I was asked to mention that Mary Cole, who wrote the prayers for tonight, could not be here, so I'm it. Creator God, hear us when we pray. In the beginning, out of the spinning void, you created heaven and earth, and all that we know of life itself. You separated the light from the darkness, and called the light day, and the darkness night. For the eternal blessing in both the light and the dark of our lives, we praise you. You said, let there be a firmament, and let there be a sky, and let earth be born as a holy place. Let the waters be gathered together to form seas and rivers, lakes and oceans. And let the dry land and the waters be in harmony under the heavens. For the eternal blessing of both earth and water, we praise you. And then above in the vaulted heavens you placed the sun, the stars, and the moon. In the waters you created the creatures of the sea. You filled the skies with winged birds. Upon the earth, multitudes of animals. And into them you breathed the breath of your eternal love. Trees and plants and all manner of living foods you made to grow. You raised the mountains up and filled the valleys with precious fruits. Nothing was created upon this earth that came not from your love. And then you made man and woman, saying to us that all this glory was ours to share, to nurture, to care for, because we were made in your image and would return to your heart. For all creation, Lord, and especially for the gift of our own lives, we praise and bless you. We thank you for the gifts of sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste, which give us the ability to interact with creation in the most intimate of ways. We ask for your healing energies to help all those who are sensorially impaired in any way. Help us bring your healing into their lives. We especially pray for those who have been harmed by our senseless ways, and those who are being harmed through lack of nourishment, health care, and safety. Help us be your hands in this life, Lord, we pray. We ask for your blessing on all those who have walked the earth before us and whom we have loved, especially those we name at this time, silently or aloud. May they be honored in our memories and live on in our hearts. Help us be agents of life, Lord, and not agents of death. Help us be wise in our choice of leaders, that we may honor your kingdom and follow your will to take care of it. Send us leaders who love the earth and who will protect and save it. Send us leaders who love your people and will fight to care for all you have created, all races, all nations, all genders, all faith traditions, those who are abled and differently abled, who are in need of help, and those who work for the rights of all. Lord, hear this prayer. Thank you, Creator God, for your ongoing creation, for the eternal return of all our lives through birth, growth, death, and regeneration. May we see you in every budding plant, in every newborn child, in every sunrise, in every darkening storm, in every defeat, and in every resilient emergence of life, in, around, and through us. We are living members of your creative spirit. Abiding lover of our souls, we praise and bless you now and forevermore. Amen.
Creation by Stephanie Downer. You are alone, dreaming, standing on a dark, dull land. There is nothing, no light, no time. There is no wind, no sound, nothing. Then a breath, quiet and loud. The light is blinding. A sun, a feminine scream, or a laugh. The land blushes green and trees explode from beneath. Mountains crash towards the sky, with clouds of rolling and tumbling, rolling like the hills, lightning. High above the furious sea, a sound, many. Voices both human and not. A breath, a birth, a world.
Again, I invite you to exit out the side door and at least take a moment to get your feet on the ground, to take a breath, to look at the sky, and realize this is all here for you. And then join us for a reception and a discussion. Please say with me, deep peace of the running wave to you, deep peace of the flowing air to you, deep peace of the quiet earth to you, deep peace of the shining stars